Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is the very special part of our program. We are now going to have our award presentation. And our mayor, your mayor, right, because he's been with us for 5 years, he is going to give us some remarks. So I'm going to share with you his bio. Mayor Martin J. Walsh, a lifelong champion of working people and a proud son of Boston, is the city's 54th mayor. Since taking office, Mayor Walsh has focused on strengthening Boston schools, adding hundreds of high-quality pre-kindergarten seats, funding extended learning time and advanced curriculum at more schools, and securing tuition-free community colleges for Boston public school graduates. Give him a round of applause. Important issues. He is the founding vice chair of the Cities of Opportunity Task Force at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, elevating the national conversation on income inequality. The Walsh administration has addressed tremendous need for housing in the city with an ambitious plan, setting records for new affordable and middle-class homes. In addition, it has built a state-of-the-art homeless shelter and gotten the city on the path to effectively ending chronic homelessness. Thank you. The administration has been hailed by President Obama for expanding young people's opportunities and breaking new ground in crime prevention and police-community relationships. Other milestones include the nation's first municipal office of recovery services to prevent and treat substance abuse, the creation of a program called Building Pathways that has become a model for increasing diversity in the workplace and providing good career opportunities for women and people of color, and in a sign of strong fiscal management and economic policy, the city's first perfect AA bond rating have unlocked unprecedented investments in parks, libraries, and public safety. How about our mayor? Okay now, okay, all right, I'm not even done yet. Before taking office, Mayor Walsh served in Massachusetts House of Representatives, where he was a leader on job creation and worker protections, substance abuse, mental health, and homelessness, K-12 education, and civic rights. He played a key role in defending Massachusetts, pioneering standing on marriage equality. Yeah. Born and raised in the neighborhood of Dorchester, by immigrant parents, Mayor Walsh is driven to make sure Boston is a city where anyone can overcome their challenges and fulfill their dreams. As a child, Mayor Walsh survived a serious bout with cancer, thanks to the extraordinary care he received from Boston Children's Hospital Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. That experience, as well as his recovery from alcoholism as a young adult, is what inspires the mayor to commit himself to public service and ensure that more people have the chance to thrive in the city of Boston. Without further ado, I present Mayor Marty Walsh.
Well, I should just sit down right now. So I want to thank you for that, Monalisa. Thank you for that introduction, and I truly appreciate it. And I want to thank everyone from Mothers for Justice and Equality for the great work you're doing here in our city of Boston. We're truly partners. To everyone from visiting from around the United States of America, welcome. If you could raise your hand, from other places, I want to see where you're from. New York. We got New York in the house. Where else? Chicago. You got a new mayor in Chicago. I was with her the other day. Who else? Atlanta. You have a pretty new mayor there, too. She's great. Where else? North Carolina. What part of Texas? Fort, okay. I don't know who the mayor is there, but I'm sure the mayor's good. If not, we're going to talk to the mayor down there. Baltimore, Maryland. We got new mayors there all over the country. Nashville, Tennessee, you got a new mayor there, too. Yep. Connecticut, great. Thank you. New Haven, Connecticut. You have a great mayor there. Who else? Anyone else? Providence, Rhode Island. No one from Philly here? Philadelphia? All right, because I like to talk a little bit about, they talk about stealing our Super Bowl from us a few years ago. Atlanta, sorry, Atlanta. We stole it from you a few years ago. You know, but that's you know. But you can come on. We have a big bandwagon. We're ready for you guys to come on with us if you want. Feel free. But I want to thank you all. Thank you all for being here. To all the mothers and grandmothers and anyone who's lost somebody they love, I want to thank you for inviting me this morning, and thank you for having this very important conversation. Monalisa talked a little bit about my bio, and you know, I appreciate that. There's some things in the bio that we've done in response to the violence in the city of Boston. Before I was the mayor, as a state representative, and we created a program called Building Pathways, and that program was created when President Obama did the American Recoveries Act. He gave money to Boston Housing Authority to retrofit some of the buildings we have, and incorporated in that, we did a pre-apprentice program, and the pre-apprentice program was to train people to get a job in the trades. And what was not included in that was that a guarantee access into the trades. And I happened to be the head of the building trades at the time. And we changed it to make sure we have direct access into the trades. And from 2011 to today, we have over 350 people of color who are in the building trades, working in the building trades in the city of Boston. And then when I became the mayor, we started another program called Operation Exit. And Operation Exit is a program that we're targeting active members in the street, kids that are, can I say kids, people that are active in the street. And we'll be able to put 104 people that were involved in community activity, in criminal activity, not crime, whatever they're involved with, being down in their luck, and having those folks work in the trades as well. So we're working to create pathways and opportunity. And this organization, I have so much respect for Mothers for Justice and Equality. I know this conference has been 5 years, but the work's been going on for 9 years. And I want to thank them for the incredible work they do around trauma and healing. This organization, and many of you in this room know that recovery as an individual is essential for people in dealing with the trauma. And my team, when I say my team, our team that worked together is here from the city of Boston, our Office of Public Safety, and our outreach workers in the street, and working on trauma and healing and helping young people to understand, helping people grieve. And we're using the model for Mothers for Justice and Equality, helping families moving forward. The loss of a family member, whether it's through the streets or incarceration, is painful. It's painful for a lot of people. For women who are escaping domestic violence, it's painful. Mothers for Justice and Equality is a beacon of hope. And I want to thank you again for all the work that you do. I have a bunch of notes here. I think I'm going to skip the notes, because when I talk off the notes, I get all messed up. Let me just... we have a motto in City Hall. When I became the mayor, just so you know a little bit about me, I grew up in Dorchester, which is kind of a neighborhood of Boston. And when I became a state representative, we had a lot of violence in our city. We had people getting killed. And I was involved in the community trying to help to understand better ways of helping people with what's going on. When I ran for mayor in 2013, there was a situation that happened. One of my people helped me get elected. A friend of his got shot and killed, and I went to the house, the mother's house of the young man that got killed. And when I got to the house, there was a woman inside crying, and it was his girlfriend and the mother of his child. And I walked in and I said to the mom and the girlfriend how sorry I was for the loss. And it was senseless violence. It was a foolish fight. And I got outside, and a couple of guys that were working on my campaign were sitting on the sidewalk, and I sat next to them on the street, and I just looked in and I was observing what was going on. And what I saw was a lot of pain inside the house. In the front yard, I saw a lot of pain and anger from this young man's friends. I saw young kids, kind of younger brothers and siblings, walking in and out of the house, not sure what's going on. And I thought to myself, we help try and treat the mother and the girlfriend and the family, but we don't treat the entire community. And I thought to myself that if I was a friend in that yard, my first instinct would be, well, we got to get the person who did this back. And it led me to think, when I thought about the city and is running for mayor, would put too much emphasis on our police departments to solve crimes and to solve the issues. And I realized that that's not what we have to do in Boston. And what we did was we literally sat down, and Mothers for Justice and Equality, when I was running, had a forum. And all of the candidates went in and talked about it. And I was thinking about the process of what this organization does. And when I got elected, we created something called the Office of Public Safety. And that office was just an idea. And what that idea was, how do we use that office to really work on the root cause of violence, which kind of moved into dealing with trauma, which is now dealing with how do we deal with the family and trauma. Because a lot of these homicides that we have that they're revenge. And a lot of it starts over foolishness and sadness. And in Boston, we're working hand in hand to try and deal with these issues and try and deal with the trauma. And we're not perfect, but we're moving forward. And there's some incredible people in this room that work with the city, work with me every day, that do this work, and you've met them, and you're going to meet them more as the day goes on. But I want to just thank you for what you've been able to talk about here and share in the experience you have. Our motto is lifting people up, not locking people up. And if I go to the crime stats in the city, the numbers are good. I mean, if you look at the numbers, I'm going to get them right here. The numbers are good that we have in the city of Boston. In the last 5 years, our shootings are down. Give me 1 second here. Our shootings are down. Violent crimes down by 25%. Arrests are down by 15%. Homicides for this year, I think we're at 33. And when you think about, compare us to other parts of the city, that's 33 homicides. That's a good number. But that's not a good number for 33 mothers. That's not a good number for 33 families. That's not a good number for 66 families, because there's another 33 families affected by this as well. So we have to do more than just talk about our stats. We have to do more about reaching out and continuing to have conversations, and difficult conversations in certain places. And that's where all of you come into play. And I want to thank you for what you do. I want to thank you for the work you do. I want to thank you for working to make sure that you're in your schools. Because in Boston Public Schools, we're investing in our schools. I want to thank you for fighting for more mental health professionals in schools and in society. We have an office, Mark Scott runs the office here in Boston, where we have trauma counselors, not just in our streets, but we have trauma counselors in our police department, and we're also adding trauma counselors in our schools, because indirectly the young people that go in our schools see the violence every single day. And if we don't start to deal with that on a more consistent basis, and to be honest with you, I'm not patting myself on the back yet, because we're not there yet. But we're making more and more investments every year in our school budget to make sure that happens. In the last school budget, this one that we're in today, we put money in there to make sure that all of our schools, 125 of our schools in the city of Boston, have nurses in them. We're in the process now of hiring a nurse in every school, not a part-time nurse, not a half-time nurse, not a nurse once in a while, full-time nurses. And that's also to understand the impacts that our young people have. We want to create better opportunities. I know many of you are working in your cities to create better opportunities for after school and year-round. And that's what we're doing here in the city of Boston. We have a program called, God bless you, we have a program called the Fifth Quarter. And the Fifth Quarter is making sure we create opportunities to keep our young people busy. We have over 11,000 young people, teenagers, that go to our BPS school system, that we get involved in summer jobs all summer long. And we're creating opportunities, trying to grow that number, get to 12,000. We have kids that want a job, we give them access to a job. Those access to jobs, some of them are in the city, a lot of them are in the private sector. I work with a lot of your mayors to talk about building that opportunity to get your business communities in your cities to hire young people off the street to give them opportunities. They do it for college kids. We're trying to do more and more of it around the country for kids, younger kids, to get them engaged, to give them different experiences. In Boston, we're investing in our parks and our community centers, because sometimes that's the only place that young people have an opportunity to go. As you know, Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCAs, whatever you have in your cities and towns, we're trying to do more of that in the city of Boston and put some services inside those community centers. Again, the kids that experience, not necessarily directly experience the violence, but the communities that come out of that see the violence, making sure we're doing work there. Summer jobs and internships, I talked about that. Violence and trauma becomes a cycle, so we're making sure that our trauma teams are working. We're making sure that we have an Office of Returning Citizens, another office that we created, an office that when people get out of prison, incarcerated, they talk about training programs in prisons, and they have a few, but most people go to them to check a box off to say, I want to get early release, and when they come out, they have no place to go. And we're working on our Office of Returning Citizens to make sure that our citizens that are returning to society and not returning back to jail. And we want to make sure we continue to work there. Monalisa talked about homelessness and addiction. We've been able to house 1,956 chronically homeless people in the city of Boston. They're not all kids. But we got a federal grant, which I was shocked about, because we don't have the best relationship with the federal government in the city of Boston, and you know why. But we got money, $5 million, to come up with a program working with Bridge Over Troubled Waters to come up with a program to help end youth homelessness in the United States of America, and we're working with organizations to do that. We have legislation. We have legislation to keep guns off the street. When the shooting happened in Parkland, Florida, there was rallies around the country. Young people had rallies around the country to talk about mass shootings. Every time I get a chance to talk about a mass shooting, I talk about a mass shooting. And we know them all, Columbine, Newtown, we know all the mass shootings. But if you look at America on every single day, in America, every single day, we have a mass shooting in America every single day. So that means we have 365 over the last year, because if you take a homicide in Boston, a homicide in Chicago, a homicide in New York, a homicide in Atlanta, a homicide in Connecticut, a homicide in Baltimore, and a homicide in other parts of the country, that's a mass shooting. And our young people here in Boston rallied around the shootings and working to get guns off the street. We have the toughest gun laws in America here in Massachusetts. But we still have too many homicides. Since I've been a mayor, almost 300 people have lost their life to gun violence in 6 years. That's 300 too many. One is too many. And we're working with our legislature every day to change that. Our police department plays a critical role in this as well. When I became the mayor, we had the incident happen in Ferguson, and then Baltimore, and then New York, and then around the country. And we started to say, wait a second, we have to look and see what we're doing as a police department. And what we're doing is, and President Obama did recognize Boston as a national model, because our job is building trust. Our job is mentoring young people. Our job is working on diverting young people from the criminal justice system. We're working in training our officers to how to de-escalate a situation and how to confront a situation. The Commissioner will talk about that in a few minutes. We're working about building trust. And it's a national problem. Because if you go to any city in America, and you walk into any grammar school in America, and you ask the young kids what they want to be, every kid loves the police officer. And then when you go to the same community later that afternoon and you're talking to the seniors, they love the police officer. They want them in the streets. But it's the middle that we lose the kids. And we have to build those relationships up. Because every young person shouldn't be looked at as a criminal, because they're not. And we're doing that here in the city of Boston. Last year, I had the opportunity to appoint, well, before I go to Commissioner, I talked about a lot of things we do in the city of Boston. If it wasn't for this organization, setting the bar real high and pushing us in the city of Boston, I wouldn't be able to talk about all the things that we're doing in the city. This is a partnership. This isn't Marty Walsh, the mayor, telling people what to do. This isn't elected officials saying we're great. This is about partnerships. We are not going to confront and take on the challenges that you're discussing here today without your support and without your leadership and without your guidance. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I know there are mothers in this room and grandmothers in this room that lost loved ones. And the thing that I find remarkable, and not everyone is there, I find remarkable the forgiveness that you have in your heart. The forgiveness you have in your heart to do this work. The forgiveness you have in your heart to come to a conference in Boston, Massachusetts, or in your own cities, or in your own towns across America to do this work, so that other mothers and other grandmothers and other family members don't have to experience the same loss you did. I am truly grateful for that. I am here today, and I've been here every year since I've been mayor for 5 years, and there's a lot going on, and not every year that I go to every event that I went to the previous year, but I won't miss this event. Because Monalisa and this organization is about helping us in Boston to make sure that we are a safe city, that young people have opportunities to be successful. That's what we have to do. I've come to this conference before in the past, and I've made a statement, and afterwards people have said to Monalisa and other folks that my mayor is not the same. But what I'm willing to do is talk to your mayor, to talk about getting involved and doing things differently. This is not about economic development, where I can come down on a policy and say this is how high we're going to build, and this is how much density we're going to build, and this is how much low-income housing you have to have. This isn't about a park. We're going to put 7 baseball fields over here, and we're going to have this kind of grass. This is about human beings. This is about personal stuff. There's no roadmap. There's no manual. There's no script. There's nothing that tells us what to do. Every situation is different. Every young person's obstacles are different. Everything we do is different, so we have to continue to work. This is a hot game. It comes from inside. So I just want to pass that along to you here today, that I'm willing to do whatever I can do to help you in your cities across America. Last year, so since I've been mayor, I've had 2 police commissioners. The first police commissioner was Billy Evans. He's a police commissioner. He served 4 years as police commissioner in Boston. And the chief of the police department at the time was Chief Gross. And they sat down and they created a team, and they created ways of doing policing and changed the way policing happens. And, the last commissioner left. He left about a year ago. So I was faced with a decision on a new police commissioner. And I needed a new police commissioner that understood the streets and somebody that could take the work to the next level. And he is a longtime friend of this organization, and he's a longtime friend of me, and his name is Commissioner William Gross. He's Boston's first black police commissioner, but in my books, he's Boston's best, he's America's best police commissioner. When Commissioner Gross got appointed, it was a big deal in the African-American community in Boston. And it was a big deal in a lot of communities. But as I said at his swearing in, when he got sworn in, he only had about 7,000 people there, live streamed and some people in the hall. What I said was, we made history today. But it wasn't just about making history. He was the right guy and the most qualified guy for the job, because he started as a cadet. He worked his way through the rank and file of the police department, became a sergeant. I'm not going to tell you how I met Commissioner Gross, but I met Commissioner Gross back in 1988. 1989. It was 1989. I think it was April. It was community policing. He had a nice conversation with me. But since the time the commissioner has been commissioner in the year, his first action was to create something called the Community Engagement Bureau. That bureau is a bureau that reaches out to our communities. It goes deeper than what community policing was originally intended for. We have a whole superintendent and a whole office dedicated towards going out into the community and building community trust, relations, but not just that, but also talking to the young people that I talked about, that age that gets lost. That age that gets lost, how do we go out there and how do we make an impact in their life, not necessarily to become a police officer, but to explain to people what the consequences of their actions are. And working on helping those kids get back on the right path. It's helping us build trust, and it's helping us create pathways to safety. He recently expanded the cold case unit. In Boston, we have about 1,000 unsolved homicides that date back to the 70s. Those cases are hurtful for the families involved. And what we're able to do in the last budget, we're able to expand the detectives and working with the district attorney here in Suffolk County, expand the cold case unit so we're out there to solve these crimes so mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers and family members can finally go to bed and rest at night. Because the person that took their family member away, we're going after them to find out who it was. So justice can be served. It's part of our commitment to bring justice to survivors and making sure loved ones are never forgotten. Commissioner Gross has also taken important measures to make the Boston Police Department more diverse. And the way we do that is a couple ways. Number one is by our testing. And number two, we have a cadet program. And the last cadet program we put on, with these are young people that get on the police department, they go on as cadets, they move up to the police department. We put on 24 cadets the last class, 75% people of color, 50% of that class, 12 women in that class, the first time we were able to do that, to diversify our police department. We're improving the wellness of our offices, the health and wellness of our offices, which benefit the entire community. We're strengthening partnerships at our schools, our BCYF centers, empowering our young people. We have something called the PAL, the Police Athletic League, revamping that to make sure the investments in our community go out. We have an event in Boston every year. It's called Shop with the Cop. It's at Christmas time, where 300 police officers line up and take 300 kids shopping around Target. They walk in. I think it's a $100 gift card they get. But what you see at the cash registers, you see the police officers putting their hand in their own pocket because they get more than $100 worth of gifts for the kids. We're doing that every year, and we're building that trust. That makes a big difference. We have an ice cream truck. People laugh about our ice cream truck. We have an ice cream truck that shows up at communities, that young people, building relations, we do that. The commissioner was able to get us a brand new truck and working to make sure that we're making those investments in our communities. Some of our most important efforts in the city of Boston are helping generational change, and the commissioner is able to bridge that gap. There's no one that I would rather have leading this work right now because he truly cares about the community, and he has a story, God bless you, he has a story to tell. He's one of the most professional, talented people that I've had the pleasure of working with. He cares deeply about the work he does. He's an amazing human being, and I'm so proud that he's our police commissioner here in the city of Boston. And he's quickly rising through the ranks of the police, of the leadership on a national level because people are identifying who he is. He says what he believes. He says the way it is. And he's building more trust. We need to take Commissioner Gross's model and take it around the country. Because when I go to other cities, I don't see that relationship. I don't see that relationship between the police department and the city. I don't see the relationship between the police department and the community. If we truly want to attack and address the issues we're talking about, we need to do it together. We're a family. We don't always have to agree. And we don't have to like each other sometimes. But we have to be focused and dedicated on the mission. And that's what Commissioner Gross does. This year he's getting the Courage and Conviction Award. And I'm going to end with this. I want to thank, he's not coming up yet, I truly want to thank all of you for being here today. I want to thank you for making your journey. I want to thank Boston University for hosting us again. Thank you, BU. I don't know if you had a chance to go outside on the balcony. There's an incredible view outside. You get a chance to see that Citgo sign that we're so proud of here in Boston. Anyone from Washington here? No Washington, huh? I know, I was going to say that. But Houston here? Yeah, D.C. The Nationals. Be proud, man. You won 12-2 last night. You're two games away. But I want to, again, honestly, just thank everyone for being here today. Congratulations, Monalisa, on another incredible conference and dedication. To all of you, we're going to keep you in my prayers tonight, and to all of us in America, let's make America a safer place for our kids. Let's make sure that young black and brown boys and black and brown girls don't have to worry about who they are, where they grow up, what street they walk down. We have to do something more than we're doing in America today. And you can start it right here today in the city of Boston. Now I'd like to I'm introducing, not the commissioner, I'm introducing a tribute to the commissioner on this screen, I think. All right.
The Mothers of Courage and Conviction Award is given in recognition of community work that has come after standing firm in the presence of tragedy to help others. Awardees include individuals who are dedicated to community safety, supporting their neighbors, and promoting community service. Going above and beyond, the Courage and Conviction Award recipients are heroes in the community, and they represent the impact one individual can have in creating a profound and positive change within their communities. The 2019 awardee, William Gross, is the City of Boston's first African American commissioner. Gross is a 33-year veteran of the Boston Police Department. Gross has worked throughout the city of Boston to address gang activity and youth violence. Throughout his career, Commissioner Gross has maintained a strong connection with the community and has been awarded numerous awards for bravery, service, and community partnership. Commissioner Gross is dedicated to the goal of a safe city for all of Boston's residents. Mothers Against Violence National Conference 2019 Courage and Conviction Award recipient, Boston Police Commissioner William G. Gross.
That wasn't for you, Mayor. I was just testing the mic. I don't want to get in trouble up here. Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to be here today. I'm going to tell you, thank you, Monalisa. Thank you, mothers. And thank you, Mayor. I'm going to tell you what, I love my job. I have had a very long road, and so has my family. I'm originally from Hillsborough, Maryland. I lived on a pig farm for 11 and a half years, came to Boston in 1975. It was a tough time, racially so, because of forced busing. But I tell you what, almost every neighborhood in Boston eventually had a hand in raising me, helping my single-parent mother raise myself and my two sisters. I saw a lot of death in Boston. When I came to Boston, it was a tough neighborhood in Dorchester, Esmond Street. That first year alone, I saw 2 or 3 people that were known to the community. They died as a result of violence. I know about the pain from the community. I know about the relationship historically so to the negative, between communities and a police department, and even a mayor. Thank God for my mother and grandmother who instilled in me a rich sense of history. I know where I came from. I know who helped build this nation. And the answer to that is all God's children. Everybody in this room. Every ethnicity. So with that being said, being raised in Boston, from 75 to 85, that was a tough time. But I always wanted to be a police officer. And when I made that decision at only 18 to join the Boston Police Department as a Boston Police Cadet, a lot of my friends are like, "Are you crazy? You're working for people that kill us?" And I said one thing that was taught to me: if you want change, be the change. All right? And then when I came aboard, thank you. That's from my mama. And then when I came aboard in 1985, when I was 21 as a police officer, I did get to go to other sections of the city, such as South Boston, Charlestown, East Boston. Know what I learned? Mothers are mothers. Know what I learned? Things can affect families like socioeconomic strife. Something in your very title, Mothers for Equality and Justice, that there wasn't equality and justice for everyone in the city. But every time there was an injustice and inequality, mothers felt it the most. You are the givers of life. If your children go through hard times, even if it's not your children by blood, you feel it. And as I went throughout the city, even early in my career, I'm happy to say, in all those areas, I have mothers across the city. Number one, to keep me humble so I don't get a big head. I already got a big Rottweiler head, so I don't get any bigger. But those mothers also let me know what's going on. Through my entire career, I have stayed close to the community that helped raise this country boy from Hillsborough, Maryland, to the man that I am now. And as I alluded to, my mother being a single parent, the other parent was the neighborhood. It was nosy Miss Parker. Told on everything. Oh, my goodness. It was my football coaches. It was Vietnam vets. It was great men like the mayor as well. Yeah, we met as a result of community policing. Let me tell you about my brother. One time I was in Mattapan at Christmas, and the entire gym of the Mildred School and the auditorium was filled with presents. It was the auditorium. And I'm like, wow, who did this? And they point to this redheaded guy. I'm like, man, I know him. I was like, oh, I know him. He's from Savin Hill. Good thing, no, right? So guess what? That's when he was a state rep. He was doing more things for the neighborhoods of color than some of the politicians. You heard him tell you, I tell it like it is. I knew right then and there, that's a person I need to work with. That's a person, when mothers tell me stuff and the community tells me things, he would listen. And that's how we formed our friendship and relationship. We tell it like it is. I'm glad you selected me, not only as the first African-American chief, but then followed by commissioner. I'm going to tell you right now, he didn't see color, but he does see potential. It's nice when someone has the faith in you to say, here's what I want you to do, here's what I need you to do, and let's do it together. So, as your 42nd commissioner, let me tell you something. I've listened, and being a student of history, Boston did need a change. And I'm proud of the mayor and his leadership. I'm definitely proud of you, my sister. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But one thing, if you see the tragedies that are going around the United States as pertains to mothers losing their children, right? And sometimes it's through the interaction with police. We have to really talk about community policing and what that means. What that means in Boston is that we're going to work hand in hand together to solve problems and create a better quality of life. My sister, what you've done in 10 years is incredible. It has not only helped heal our communities, but it has taught the BPD how to look at problems and trauma and a mother's pain and a family's pain through a different lens. We look at that with more empathy, sympathy, care, and respect. The numbers that you heard the mayor tout about the crime rate being low is because when we hear from the community, when the community teaches us that our law enforcement partners shouldn't be robotic, cynical, don't care, I'll show up when you call me and then leave, they teach us again to have empathy, sympathy, care, and respect. It's even reflected in our academy curriculum. Fair and impartial policing, leave your biases at home. Procedural justice, that's common sense. Treat people like you want to be treated. De-escalation, calm down, just calm down. But if you're going to teach, you're going to teach about the community, you have to have the community come in and teach. My sister is no stranger to the Boston Police Academy because we bring in people from the community to share their lived experiences to make sure our officers are better in the way they treat the individuals that we serve. It's not the other way around. Your program, Mothers for Justice and Equality, has also taught people to look at us through a different lens as policing. President Obama himself, after a series of shootings involving police and black and brown men in the community, ordered a study in 21st century policing. Here's the shocker. At the end of that study, he says, if you want to learn about diversity, inclusion, community policing, working in partnerships, go to Boston. Everybody fell off their seats. But again, we didn't rest on our laurels. The mayor allowed me to create the Bureau of Community Engagement to make sure the 11 districts are treating everyone the same way, and to make sure, just like Monalisa and her great team, and my mothers and my extended sisters, that we are leaving no families behind. How do I know what it feels like when you're left behind, and when you're dirt poor, and when you don't think anyone else cares? Then you don't care. It does affect our sons, our daughters. It does affect the mentality. And when you show, when we can show that people care, it will change the family, where those children are less susceptible to joining gangs or committing acts of violence that cause mothers to experience so much pain. Our community police model is #1 in the country because we work in partnership with Monalisa Smith. We work in partnership with the clergy. We work in partnership with our institutions of higher learning. You're in BU right now. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King went here in 1951 to 55. We work with our medical facilities and our cool clergy like Reverend Mark Scott back there, looking like Frederick Douglass's cousin. But why is this important? Being a poor kid, coming up in Boston and on the farm, there's another thing that Monalisa and her great organization also do. They teach you how to heal yourselves, your families, and each other. Because unfortunately, in neighborhoods of color, black and brown, and even poor whites, there's a stigmatism that talking about our problems makes us weak. Seeking counseling is for someone else. Talking about trauma makes you weak. I can say it all day as a police officer, but when a mother that's lost their children, a mother's lost her child, says, it's okay to not be okay, that's a lot of pain. You carried that child for 9 months. It's okay to talk about your feelings. It's okay because one day it may even lead you to the highest power of all, forgiveness. I'm still working on it. But it's okay. I'm glad the mothers are from across our great nation so you can share your lived experiences. because that's a healing process. No one can talk to you and relate the way that you mothers all can because you've lost someone. And then in turn, you can teach others what it feels like. You can teach others about what's needed in your communities. You can teach others what's needed in families. You can teach others how to move forward together. That is being done in Boston. The growth that you've obtained 9 to 10 years is just incredible. No one makes the mayor and myself come here. We see what works. The mayor talks about me caring. He really cares about the community. The community helped raise him too. We have people in our community, 1 minute? No. Rufus Falk, a brother from the community. Thank you for your service. Reverend Mark Scott, a man from the community that leads our trauma services. That's another thing in closing. I'm going to wrap it up. But I'm just so happy to be here, is that we talk about the healing process. The mayor reached out to the clergy, Reverend Mark Scott, who served our great nation in the armed services, but now serves our great city as he heads our trauma services. Man, I know that like my own social security number, 617-431-0125, because the people need to hear it. People were tired of, if you heard a squirrel getting run over in the suburbs, there's 7 counselors, but when our children were experiencing things that led to post-traumatic stress, there was nothing. But the mayor says no, Reverend Scott says no, and now our trauma services are here to help heal. So, thank you, thank you, thank you, my extended mothers. Thank you, thank you, thank you, my extended sisters. Trust me, I'm happy to be here. I know where I came from. I will always be here for you. And I'm a part of the major city chiefs in the United States and a part of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. I often meet at conferences with chiefs and commissioners, and guess what? Since everything began in Boston, we make sure we share it with everyone, even some Super Bowl trophies from time to time. But again, thank you for this great honor. I'm going to take it home and give it to my mama. Thank you all for being here. Love you all. Thank you.
Mama on a mission from Kansas City, Missouri. We are going to acknowledge her, and there's going to be a short video that just shares a little bit about this particular award that she is going to receive, the Lily Estevie Award. So please be seated. Immediately following, I'm going to share Congressman Joe Kennedy's bio with you, and he's going to give us remarks as well. And then we'll take a break, and then we'll do our afternoon workshops. So be patient. This is a very important award, and you'll see when you see this video. Here it goes.
The 2019 Lily A. Estes Community Justice Award is given to a woman who embodies the aims of community justice strategist Lily A. Estes, who died this past January 2019. Estes was a civic leader in Richmond, Virginia, who passionately dedicated her life to those impacted by economic and racial injustice. She consistently pushed leaders to address root problems and seek solutions. Monique Willis founded Mama on a Mission in 2014 following the death of her son Alonzo at age 20. MOM aims to help families like hers navigate the personal fallout after the murder of a family member, encourage them to become more engaged citizens, and connect them with a supportive, understanding community. Willis is dedicated to helping the families grapple with the frustration and confusion they face in the days, months, and years following the crime. Willis is also working to address communication between police and communities as incidents of police brutality continue to make headlines and polarize the nation. To foster community engagement, MOM has created community programs including acquiring billboards and creating rewards for information to help families of victims get justice. Through MOM and her work supporting other families suffering from this trauma, Monique makes sure that Alonzo's memory is kept alive for the legacy of his children. The 2019 Lily A. Estes Community Justice Award goes to Monique Willis, founder of Mama on a Mission, Kansas City, Missouri.
I'm going to ask the mayor to join me as I present you with this award. Mayor Walsh. Mayor. So on behalf of all of us, our city, and Mothers for Justice and Equality, our commissioner, our mayor, because of the work you do in Kansas City, Missouri with the police, we would like to present you with our Courage and Conviction Award. Thank you. So I hope you saved room for dessert because we have our congressman here, Joe Kennedy. And so Joe Kennedy III is currently Joe Kennedy III is currently congressman for the 4th District of Massachusetts and is running for the U.S. Senate. Over the past several years in Washington, Joe has fought for people that our system has locked out. Did you hear me? Joe has fought for people that our system has locked out. Those are the people we serve, right? Those are us. We are the people that systems have locked out. Let down or left behind. He's running to take on our badly broken system, that everyday injustices and oppressions that have left our country divided and disillusioned, right? At a moment in time when so many people have been excluded from our government, our democratic institutions, and our politics for so long, Joe is looking to take a new approach. He has promised to show up for the people who have been left behind, elevate their voices in the nation's national debate, and fight for a system that recognizes the dignity of every person who calls this nation home, a cause near and dear to the people in this room. Joe has been a passionate voice not only for gun control, but for policies that break the cycle of poverty, violence, disenfranchisement. He understands that many of these everyday injustices happen in our neighborhoods, most of the time never getting the attention of news crews or people outside our community. How many of us bear witness to that? Yes. With homicide rates at nearly 10 times the national average in our urban centers, and this epidemic disproportionately impacting communities of color, Congressman Kennedy is looking to change the system and fight the inequalities at the root of the problem. From housing to health care to criminal justice and education. Just this week, he co-sponsored the Break the Cycle of Violence Act that would provide federal resources to community for evidence-based gun violence intervention prevention programs designed to interrupt the cycle of violence. That deserves a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are honored to have him here today. Without further ado, I would like to welcome you. Thank you for being here. Yes. Thank you for understanding.
That one works. All right. I won't need two, I promise. Monalisa, thank you for the incredibly gracious introduction, for the opportunity to join you, this organization, this incredible room this afternoon, for your, Monalisa, your leadership of Mothers for Justice and Equality that is carried so fearlessly in your nephew's memory. To the commissioner, who I can still hear laughing outside, and the mayor, both dear friends and extraordinary public servants, I do want to thank them both for showing this nation how law enforcement and local government can work side by side to keep communities safe, inclusive, and just. I'm proud to consider myself a partner in Washington. To all of the moms, the partners, and the allies that are here today, your passion, your expertise, your strength will guide us as we work to eliminate violence in our communities. What brings all of you into this room today is not fair, and it is not right. But you're here anyway, fighting for something greater than yourselves, for the lives and the futures of folks you will never meet. Our nation stands in your debt. I know you all have had many speakers today, and many more poignant than I. And so I will keep this brief. But if you'll indulge me, I actually wanted to start by asking a few questions. With a show of hands, how many of you in this room have been woken up by gunfire at night within the last year? In the last month? Within the last week? How many of you have children who have been locked down in a classroom in the past few school years? Any already this year? How many of your children have access to school psychiatrists and psychologists on a daily basis, rather than just when tragedy strikes? How many in this room have attended a funeral for somebody younger than 40, taken by a gun within the last 5 years? In the last year? In the last month? How many in this room have lost a loved one to suicide? More than one? More than two? How many in this room have lost a relative to gun violence? More than one? More than two? This is the reality of gun violence in America. Not just the tragedies that make headlines, but the ones that don't. The constant, everyday, lived experience of a nation who has wholly failed to address a cycle of poverty, of oppression, of injustice, and trauma that forces countless families to wake up with part of them missing. There are no words to convey how wrong it is that all of you have to bear the scars of that failure. To have to shoulder the sins of policymakers who see violence as an individual act rather than the symptom of a badly broken system. Nor are there words to convey how incredible it is that you have channeled unimaginable tragedy of a lost loved one into action and advocacy. You have asked for only one thing that shouldn't be so hard in this country, that shouldn't be this hard in this country. Justice. Not retribution, not retaliation, but justice. Justice for those who have lost, justice for those you love. Justice for all of us who believe in something better for our nation. Because families should not have to wake up to gunshots that shatter silent nights, but become so common that they barely make a whimper in our national conscience. Because we shouldn't be surprised when student behavior deteriorates in schools with bullet holes in classroom windows. Because the richest nation on earth should not have any excuse for not having psychologists and psychiatrists in every single school. Because we shouldn't be burying healthy young men and women. Because suicide is still violence. Because every single one of us carries the memory of a person we love who we will not see again. What we would give for one more moment. Because violence is intersectional and indiscriminate. But trauma is generational. It weaves its way through a family story, touching all of those who come after. But still, I am hopeful. We are hopeful. Because there are a few things that I know about moms. You do not accept excuses. You will not rest until the job is done. You will fight for your children, whether they share your blood or not. You will protect your own with every fiber of your being. And you will love. You will love harder than anyone can imagine. You will love your families, your friends, and your fellow mothers. You will love even when we don't deserve it. For nothing has ever matched a mother's devotion to a child. No bullet, no gun, no legacy of violence or trauma, no injustice, no oppression, no loss. Nothing can match what is in this room today. You are and will be the light that ends neighborhood violence. In the memory of those you have lost, in service of those you stand with today, and in the name of every child still to come who deserves a future that is limitless, that is bold, and that is bright, I am so grateful for what you do. Thank you for including me here this afternoon.